Listen, Josh Giddey's putting up all-star numbers, no doubt about it. Putting up almost a triple-double every single night. He is on pace to become an all-star this season. But what does any of that mean if the Bulls keep piling up losses rather than wins? Today, we're going to dive into what's real, what's concerning, and what needs to change ASAP. Plus, we'll break down Julian Phillips' energy and how that could be earning him a role, especially with as many Bulls injured as we have right now. And we're going to talk about Noa Essengue's development as well. We're going to also preview tonight's matchup against the Brooklyn Nets. We're going to get into all that and more right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content today, y'all. And Josh Giddey's on pace to be an all-star. I think that's one of the things that you can take away from this Bulls season when you look at the numbers that Josh Giddey's putting up. He's one of only two players averaging at least 20 points, 9 rebounds, and 9 assists. And the only other guy doing that is Nikola Jokic. Now, we do know it's not all about the numbers, which we're going to get into a little bit when it comes down to it, right? If you lower that threshold down to 8 rebounds and assists, Luka Doncic's in that. So Josh Giddey's in pretty solid, with company, right? And the thing about it is, you look at those players in Luka and Nikola Jokic, they're not the most athletic players in the world. Now, the difference is that those teams win, and they're on winning teams more times than not, right? And so the Bulls right now, who sit at 10th in the Eastern Conference, such a familiar place for the Chicago Bulls. You look at the Los Angeles Lakers, they're second in the Western Conference at 15-5, and the Denver Nuggets are 14-6 on the season. So while Josh Giddey is in the elite category, in company with the numbers that he's putting up, unfortunately, the winning pace of the team is not up to where those other teams are, where those players' teams are. Now, let me be clear. Josh Giddey, the impact that he's making is huge for this Bulls team, and in no way am I saying that the state of the Chicago Bulls are on him, right? He's shooting 47% from the field, 40% from three-point range. He's turned into a legit three-point shooter this year, albeit not at very high volume, but he has kept defensive honest with the way he's been able to shoot the three consistently. He's 58 true shooting percentage on the season as well. Now, one of the problems is that he needs to get better at that free throw line. He needs to tighten that up a little bit. But you look at also defensively where Josh Giddey's made strides at. He's averaging over a steal per game as well, even though steals aren't necessarily on-ball defense. But then when you look at his on-ball number, he's grown in that as an on-ball defender as well. Pick and roll, transition defense is still a very big weak spot for him as well. But when you look at it, Chicago's 6.1 points per 100 possessions better defensively when Josh Giddey's on the court. Josh Giddey's finally started to learn and understand how to use his size to his advantage on both offense and defense. And that's one of the benefits of him actually just sticking to playing point guard now for the Chicago Bulls, where you have some Bulls fans that still want to move him back to forward like OKC did. That's where a lot of his things are exposed at, right? So when it comes down to Zach Cram in the early, NBA All-Stars voting, when it comes down to it, they have Giddy listed as an on-the-bubble All-Star, right? And Cram, who wrote the article, wrote this in regards to it, that he would include Giddy among the 12 All-Stars if he had to pick today. He highlighted Josh Giddey's near triple-double numbers as the main reasons for the selection, while also noting that he isn't a lock because they haven't sustained a level of production before or because they must answer one key question between now and February. So listen, it's a good sign of confidence that Josh Giddey's probably going to be an all-star this year. But then that gets me to my part of the conversation, right? Whether you want to look at this as some people are going to take this and say, well, Josh Giddey's numbers aren't that impactful because the Bulls aren't winning at a rate. Some people are going to look at it and say, well, the Bulls need to do better at taking advantage of having a player that's playing at this level and not waste these seasons on a team that's going to be hovering around the play-in, and they need to be more aggressive about filling out the roster. Regardless of your view on that, it still comes down to the same thing. If you're not winning, what does it really matter? And I don't mean to be super pessimistic. Like, congrats. This is not a knock on Giddy. This is more the state of the team. You have somebody who's in categories of MVP, right? That's what the numbers that Josh Giddey's putting up puts him in the category of that. And while I will say this, it's not like that we're losing and everybody's playing well but Josh Giddey. Giddey's had his shortcomings in some of these games as well, but it gets back to that overarching thing that I want to focus on. Let's stop wasting good seasons from players, right? Like it goes back to my little bit of a rant after the game when it came down to this, is that, like, if you're not committed to winning, if that's not the first, the second, and the third thing is that everything that we do has to be built around winning, then what are you doing, right? You made a trade for Josh Giddey, and for what it's worth, he's living up to probably the most high level of expectations and hopes that you had for what that trade was going to get you production-wise. And now you have to find players around that are going to help. Now, we know that the Bulls have a number of injured players. We're going to talk a little bit about that when we get into the game preview. But you have this player in Giddy who's young. And yes, you locked him in, and you have him for 4 more years at the minimum, right? We'll see what happens at the end of that. But you have this guy who's in not even yet in technically what should be the prime of his career, putting up these type of numbers. And so it goes back to the team building and the aggressiveness that AK has to have at completing this part of the process, right? Going out there and getting the guys that fit around Josh Giddey, going out there and getting the guys that are going to help contribute to winning, going out there and solidifying a roster that's going to be able to be competitive consistently in the Eastern Conference. And while me and a lot of other Bulls fans will point out, this team is losing games because of effort, not because of skill. There have only been a couple of games this season where the Chicago Bulls have lost it, and I've been like, hey, they just got outclassed because of they just didn't have enough skill down the they didn't have enough skill down the stretch of that game. That was Milwaukee when Giannis took over. That definitely was one of those losses, and that was a little bit of Cleveland as well, right? Now, other than that, I'd say San Antonio probably too, with Wemby hitting that game winner. But outside of that, every game that's come down to execution, effort down the stretch of the game for the Chicago Bulls. And so you're losing games. You are on a 4-game losing streak now because your team has gotten outworked, right? And so you can have the Josh Giddeys. You can have Modest Buzelis, who's having, a mix. I'd say he's having just a normal sophomore season. I won't say it's a sophomore slump either, because he's still better than what he was last season, but he hasn't really hit that kind of step that people wanted to see in the second year. But you got players that are balling. Even when Kobe plays, he's averaging 25, 5, and 5. We just got to get his ass on the court more often. He's dealing with a new calf injury, which, hell, he missed a month with the first one. Are we in store for that again? So you have to take advantage of that. And when you have players that are putting up like numbers and that are living up to their half of the bargain, it's up to the franchise to live up to their part of it. And their part of it, the part that's on the franchise, is we have to continually trying to improve the roster. And that's where this Bulls team continues to fall short at. So, Josh Giddey's probably going to be an all-star. Whether he gets named as a reserve, I know they're changing it where they're doing team USA versus world, some stuff like that. But Josh Giddey's probably going to be an all-star this season. Where's that all-star really going to get us? What is that going to achieve for the Chicago Bulls? That's the question here. And that's the question that I wish we weren't asking, right? I wish we had a front office that we could have the faith in and say, hey, listen, the way that X is cooking, the way that this team is looking, they're going to go out and find what we're missing. We don't have that. We have all we have is that now, like, they can identify the problem. Is it going to take you another 3 years to go out there and get the big that we need? We'll see. But let me know what you guys think on that. Let me know what you guys think on Josh Giddey, the company that he's in, and then what that means for this team going forward. Now, with that said, let's get into the next one, right? Julian Phillips. I want to talk a little bit about Julian, right? Especially because Julian finds himself in a scenario where the Bulls are missing so many players, right? You got Isaac Okoro, who's still out, Kobe White, who's still out, Jalen Smith, who's listed as questionable. You got all these players, Dalen Terry listed as questionables. And that's going to open up naturally an opportunity for somebody to step up. Now, we know that Billy Donovan, in those situations where we're that depleted, does like to go to Javon Carter, right? But we're so depleted right now with injuries, with Kevin Huerter also being out, that it's opening up this opportunity for Julian. Now, you look at the last game for Julian Phillips, right? 21 minutes against Orlando, 10 points, 3 rebounds, 57% shooting from the field that he brought in that one. And the thing with Julian and with Dalen, for that matter as well, is that there's always that stretch in the season, whether it's 2 or 3 games, and maybe they do it a couple of times a year, where you look at them and you're just like, hey, let's play these guys more. Julian Phillips is 22 years old. There were rookies that came into the league this year that are older than Julian Phillips, right? But you look at what he did last night, right? And the fact that the place, what he did the other night against the Magic, the place that the Bulls are in right now, right? And you have to be everyone has to be ready, and that's something that we're going to need. And when you look at Julian Phillips and the prototypical player that he could be, the 3-and-D type player, right? The 3 isn't consistent for him, right? But that energy guy, right? And so when you look for a team that is looking for a spark plug, I think the Bulls have had a couple of players over the last games that have shown that little bit of spark, right? A little bit of energy that we've been lacking. Julian has done that. Lachlan Albrecht has absolutely done that. I hate to see Lachlan is on the injury report himself with a calf injury, but Lachlan has definitely brought that as well, right? And so when you have this pace that you're playing fast, Billy Donovan once said this. Okay, everybody's playing fast now. Now it comes down to physicality. Hold your ground. Body in play, screening, loose balls. How can you convert from offense to defense, defense to offense, right? Julian Phillips is one of those guys that now could take advantage of the opportunity to get that done. Because listen, while Julian is a little over 200 pounds, 6'8", right? But is a guy that can be disruptive defensively. Can play in the passing lanes, can get out there and run, can finish plays on the fast break as well, right? And so for that, when it comes to Julian, this is an opportunity for Julian right now to go out there and to show, hey, maybe I can be in this rotation a little bit, Billy. Maybe I can provide some of that spark that you are missing in that case, right? And Julian Phillips isn't like the toughest player. I wouldn't say that. Like, I'm not saying that he's soft either, right? But he's a player that has always had kind of that Swiss Army knife type game potential, I should say that, right? And now is it an opportunity for him to show it? He's been phased almost completely out of the rotation this year, which I did expect when you go and look at how I talked about preseason. I knew that Julian Phillips and Dalen are going to really have to fight for their minutes this season more than they ever have before. And that's shown itself. He's averaging 8.6 minutes per game, right? Which is down from 14 per game last season, which that already wasn't a lot of minutes. But you're looking for players, especially when you have people that are out with injury, you're looking for people to step up and step into their role. And maybe that could be Julian Phillips now. So we'll see what he brings. He has another year in his contract after this season. So the Bulls would be really, intentional about, or should be being intentional about really trying to see what he can bring in when the opportunity arises. And with the number of players that are on the Bulls injury report, which our injury report is now almost stacked up to 10 players, this is the time. And what Julian makes of it is going to be really telling to how much he can be trusted as the season goes on. So let's see what Julian Phillips brings for this Bulls team. I have high hopes for him as far as in the role, right? I think that he can very much so do something similar to what P. Will's doing. I'm not saying the same way, right? Because P. Will is a complete different physical specimen, but Julian Phillips can bring a little bit of that. I think that he needs to take advantage of this opportunity to really show that, and we'll see. With the number of injuries that we have, Julian's probably going to get minutes again in this game. What does he bring today? How does Billy Donovan look to use that energy? And we'll see. Let's move on from that to the next topic that I want to talk about before we preview the game. And that is, I'm not worried about Noa Essengue, but I am worried about the development plan for Noa Essengue, right? Like, if that makes sense. Now, Noah's out right now with injury. He does have a shoulder contusion. He's out. That's why we're seeing Emmanuel Miller. That's why we're seeing Lachlan Albrecht, and we're not seeing Noa Essengue. People have asked about that. We're not seeing Noah right now because Noah is hurt, right? But the thing that I have to ask myself on is this, right? And this is something that only AK, Billy, the coaching staff will know. Noa Essengue has already shown in 2 or 3 G League games that this kid can play basketball, and that the G League level of competition doesn't really seem like it's really giving him a test. Right now, I have said it's about getting reps, and getting reps for a player like Noa Essengue that's young is important. I'm not going to worry about an 18-year-old player yet and go through some of the spiral that some Bulls fans are, where they're looking at an 18-year-old kid who's about to be 20 soon and say, oh my God, are the Bulls wasting him? Oh my God, he's going to be another bust. I'm not going to say that, because at this point, we haven't seen enough of him to say that. He's played 4 minutes of NBA basketball. And with the time where he does get minutes down in the G League, you can see the raw skill, but you can see that skill set nonetheless, right? So the question then becomes about, what is the plan for Noah? And that was always the thing, is that Noah earning minutes at the NBA level, to me, always came down to, what is he showing at the G League? And he's showing those numbers where he's averaging over 20 points. He's showing the energy. All those type of things have been really, really great for this Bulls team. So I do think this, right? Handling the youth development it's difficult when you're also trying to win basketball games for some teams. Some teams are perfectly fine throwing out, like, you look at Eric Spoelstra. You look at Jaime Jaquez when he was a rookie. Nikola Jovic kind of more so, he was kind of the opposite. Nikola Jovic kind of gained minutes over time for that team. Khalil Ware played in his rookie year, but not right away. All right, so it's not that the Bulls are the only team that does this. Kaman Malawak, with the Phoenix Suns is another player where he's raw as well, is spending some serious time down in the G League. And for what it's worth, Noa Essengue looks better than him in G League minutes. So there you go on that one. The question then becomes about what is the plan for Noah? And that's going to be something that a lot of Bulls fans continually ask, because when you look at this Bulls team, the fact that we're lacking rebounding, the fact that we're lacking rim protection, the fact that we're lacking energy, you would think that Noa Essengue could bring some of those things, much like a Julian Phillips, a Lachlan Albrecht, hell, even an Emmanuel Miller that we've seen his bring. And so as this team and this season goes on, I wonder if that plan is more like Modest Buzelis, where we're in December now, around January is if Noah's healthy, is there a plan for Noa Essengue? If not, and if that is pushed back to next season, it better be a hell of a plan, in my personal opinion, because, hey, Noah, again, not worried about the 18-year-old kid. I'm worried about the plan and the development there, and I guess we'll see how that's going to shake out, right? All right, let's get into this preview for the Bulls. Bulls take on the Brooklyn Nets tonight, and the Brooklyn Nets are in the bottom of the league in just about every category. 24th in offensive rating, 29th in defensive rating, 27th in net rating, 23rd in true shooting percentage, 25th in effective field goal shooting percentage, 27th in rebounding rate. Like, all these things, they're at the bottom of the league in so many different avenues and so many different areas. But you know where they're towards the top of the league at? 3-point rate. They're third in the league in 3-point rate. They're ninth in the league in assist as well. And while they're only 4 and 16 on the season, again, as we've seen over this stretch for the Bulls, there is no such thing as an easy game for the Chicago Bulls, meaning that they got to come into this one prepared. This is now, you are at home. You're no longer on the road. You're at home against the Brooklyn Nets. Can you get a fucking win at home against the Nets? Because I tell you what, if y'all thought I crashed out, which I wasn't even a crash out, it was more of a passionate conversation. If y'all thought I passed out or crashed out after the last loss, you don't want to see a potential crash out if we lose to the Brooklyn Nets. Now, what are some of the things the Bulls have to look out for in this game? Michael Porter Jr. Michael Porter Jr. is averaging 25 points per game for this team. Of course, Nick Claxton on the boards, the athleticism that he brings, and Noah Clowney as well in that front court rotation could give Vooch fits. Now, if Lachlan Albrecht does play, I am looking for Lachlan to give us some really good backup center minutes, because we do need them. But this should be a get-right win for the Chicago Bulls, but that's why I'm worried about it, because what should be for the Bulls very rarely is what we actually get for this Bulls team, right? So Zach Collins could be making his return this week, which, in this game, which would be good for the Chicago Bulls, and especially with Lachlan out hurt. But when you look at this injury report for the Bulls, Noa Essengue out, Kevin Huerter out, Kobe White out with the left calf strain. Keep in mind that it was the right calf to start the season. Jalen Smith, questionable. Dalen Terry, questionable. Isaac Okoro, doubtful. Any other players that are probable? Trey Jones, probable. Lachlan Albrecht, probable. Julian Phillips, probable. Patrick Williams, probable. So I don't want to hear any excuses. This is the Brooklyn Nets. Go out here and get this dub. Go out here and get this win. Handle this business. Let's get this dub. Let's get an easy win. And things get a lot harder for the Bulls after this point in time. So, listen, get this win here. And then hopefully the Bulls, who play up and down to their competition, is ready for what's coming. Because then we got Indiana on Friday, which has already beat us. And then it's Golden State, Hornets, New Orleans, 2 games against Cleveland, 2 games against the Atlanta Hawks. Let's lock in. So, that's all I really have to say. I wish I can give a more in-depth preview, because this team lacks balls. That's really what it comes down to with this team. Come out here, play, perform, and let's see what it's going to lead us. With that said, we do got one voicemail I want to get into today. This one is from Josh.
Yo, Chicago Bulls Central. Hayes. This is Josh out in Arizona. I'm just calling again to ask one more question. I know when AK was going into this season, he said that we are not going to be skipping any steps this season, yada yada yada. Feel me? And just evaluating what we got on the team. But I don't know. I think that what we've seen in the first 7 games and what we've seen in the past eight, 10 games now, are like so drastically different that some form of evaluation has to come like from the team of understanding why did such a large drop off happen. I don't think it would be skipping steps at all if you was to look at that drop off and see, oh, it might be because we're relying on a certain player too much, Vooch. And that's just how Billy Donovan does when he has his trusted guys and all that, especially the veterans. We've seen that for years. That he'll rely on them a little too much. So would it really be skipping steps to figure out a way to get Vooch to a new team and maybe just find a temporary replacement or go after a big name? But yeah, would it really be skipping steps to do that during the season so you can inherently make your team better? It's just taking the next step up, if you get what I'm saying. So yeah, I think that's got to be the next step that we take this season, if we have any semblance of keeping our season together. Because Billy Donovan has his guys and he relies on them too much. I think that you got to deal with the coach and you got to deal with what you got on the team. You feel me? Vooch doesn't fit. Billy uses him too much. So let me know what you think. Have a good one.
Yes. So yes, AK did say we're not skipping steps, but he also said that we're evaluating for long-term fit. And I think that evaluation part in that does lead that leeway to, if you evaluate somebody and you realize they're not here for long-term, they're not a long-term fit for you, why would you keep them? Right. And that's the question that you have to ask here. And that's the question that hopefully they're going to figure out. So we shall see what's going to happen here with the Bulls. But I'll say this. No, it's not skipping steps if you identify something you're lacking on this roster and then you go out there and you get that, right? Now, I will say this. I don't think that you're going to be getting your center of the future for Vooch. I don't think his trade values that you would have to include picks, right? Maybe you can use Vooch as the matching salary, but I think that it's almost going to be separate things. You can move off Vooch, I think, or you can make a move for a center and still keep Vooch around here, which I know that's going to bring some problems for players, or you can still look to move Vooch, but I don't think that they may go hand in hand. I think those may be two separate moves, but we'll see. We'll see. But great voicemail, Josh. Thank you guys all for tuning in to this episode, man. This wraps it up for today. Josh Giddey is on an all-star path. No doubt about that. But the Bulls have got to match his energy as a team on this stretch, and he has to bring that energy and leadership consistently. The fixes are there. The opportunities are there as well for this Bulls team. The question is will the Bulls actually take them and take that step? If you enjoyed today's show, make sure you guys like and subscribe to the channel. Drop a comment as well. Love to hear from you guys on every episode. You can follow us at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. BullsCentralPod@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. And like I like to end every episode on, stay safe, see red, and always go Bulls. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.